Fresh off Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker's recall election victory, the governor of Indiana has a message for public unions. Here is Mitch Daniels on Fox News Sunday.
Are you saying that you would like to see no public worker unions?
I think really government works better without them. I really do. You know, in our state, we had a 16-year run with so-called collective bargaining, and we did end it. And I want to say that although it led to the saving of large amounts of tax dollars, it wasn't principally about that. We had 160 pages of shackles, really, on government's ability to deliver services better. And 7 years later, we're delivering services across the board.
All right, D. Roy Murdoch is a syndicated columnist and a Fox News contributor. Nice to see you. Good morning to you.
Good to see you.
I think what a lot of people may lose sight of is that Mitch Daniels was doing this before Scott Walker in Wisconsin, before John Kasich tried it in Ohio. Why was Daniels successful?
Well, he did not have anywhere near the controversy. This all kind of went through fairly quietly. And, of course, in Wisconsin, you saw the tremendous protests followed by the effort to oust a Supreme Court justice who might have been sympathetic. They tried to knock out 9 state senators who had voted for Walker's reforms and, of course, tried the recall that failed miserably last week. I think the fact that Mitch Daniels is able to talk about the idea of getting rid of government worker unions completely shows how much this whole issue has shifted even just in the last week.
I think that's the important point, because everybody's writing about this right now because they're all trying to figure out how they interpret the vote from Wisconsin. How do you interpret it?
I think that this is probably going to be something like Prop 13 in California back in 1978.
Which was?
It was an effort in California by Howard Jarvis to reduce payroll taxes across the board, and it really triggered the whole tax cut revolution that started in the late 70s, of course, propelled through with Ronald Reagan. I think similarly that the vote last Tuesday in Wisconsin will be the beginning of all sorts of states and cities making major rollbacks in the kind of pension and benefit expenses.
Keep in mind what Walker did, though. He just had workers contribute more to the retirement fund, basically.
Or the way I like to put it is, for example, the taxpayer's share of health benefits, I believe, was about 94 cents of the dollar. He chopped it all the way down to 87. And he's treated as if he's thrown these people on the street. No. They're still, taxpayers in Wisconsin are still paying about 87 cents of those benefits, but that's down from 94. That's the big reform. And yet he was described as Adolf Hitler by some of his opponents, which of course is totally
but the bigger point is no one lost their job in Wisconsin.
Because they were able to lower the benefit expenses, these people were able to stay on board. And he said, look, if we don't do this, I'm going to have mass firings, which he didn't do.
What are other governors now doing? I mean, they're looking at this vote, they're seeing how it changed, and are they trying their own?
Some of them are responding in different ways. Here in New York State, Andrew Cuomo, who's a liberal Democrat, actually has done some of these things that Scott Walker has done, requiring state workers to put more money into their pensions. He's rolled back the retirement age from 61 to 62. I think it should go higher, but that at least is moving in the right direction. And in other places like Illinois, you've got Governor Scott Quinn, who largely has done what the unions have wanted. And now you've got the teachers' unions. They're about to go on strike in Chicago if they don't get a 30% pay hike. Who in Illinois among the taxpayers is seeing that kind of a pay hike?
Now, this is a big battle. It's going to play out in its own way, and it already has. Indiana was different from Ohio. Ohio was different from Wisconsin. But is it making the states better? Are they healthier economically?
I think they are. I think that the expenses that they're seeing are just absurd and ridiculous. I mean, just as a broad example, the average private sector employee makes about $61,000 a year in salary and benefits, according to USA Today. State and local government workers about $70,000. Federal workers $120,000. So they're making about double what people are in the private sector. This is just this is incredibly imbalanced. This needs to be brought much lower on the.
Perhaps your point is well taken, but everybody knows a teacher, a firefighter, or a police officer. This is not easy stuff to do. Your mom was a teacher.
My mom was a teacher. My mom's a retired teacher, and I certainly appreciate her service. I appreciate the service of the NYPD and the FDNY here in New York, but I don't think it's at all unreasonable to say, look, the incredible imbalance in payments has to be brought down. Things like pension spiking should end. This is a practice where if you work for 20 years, let's say, your pension is based on your last 2 or 3 years of work, and a lot of people work up a lot of overtime and then get these inflated pensions. We should say, for example, look, we'll give you a pension based on what your average wage is across your entire career, not how much you can jack it up over the last 2.
We'll
see.
Basic
common sense stuff.
We'll see how it changes. Thank you for coming.
We're out of money. That's the key point.